Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining us today because we are tackling something that literally every single professional deals with on a daily basis. Yet, let's be honest, so many organizations still get it completely wrong. Today, our goal is to break down the actual mechanics of business communication. We're going to pull apart how information truly flows, why it inevitably gets blocked, and most importantly, how we can avoid those incredibly costly workplace misunderstandings. You know, like that one time someone accidentally hit reply all to the entire company? We've all been there.
I mean, think about it for a second. Have you ever sent what you thought was a perfectly simple, totally straightforward message, maybe a quick email to a colleague or an instruction to a supplier, only to find out later it was completely misunderstood? It is incredibly frustrating, isn't it? Well, you are definitely not alone. That exact pain point is what we're going to solve today by analyzing exactly how business communication really functions.
To do that, we are going to follow the journey of a message. We'll cover 1. The basics of communication. 2. Choosing the right method. 3. The power of feedback. 4. Common communication barriers. And 5. Strategies to overcome barriers.
Let's start with Section 1, the basics of communication, building the foundation.
So at its core, communication is defined as transferring a message, whether that's a direct instruction or just general information, from a sender to a receiver. But I want you to focus on the very last part of this definition, because it is the absolute key to the whole shebang, so it is fully understood. That's the secret right there. Just talking at someone or just hitting send on an email is not actually communication. If the receiver doesn't understand the message, communication hasn't happened. You've basically just made noise. The burden of understanding is built right into the very definition.
Now, all this communication generally falls into two main arenas. First up, we have internal communication. This is exactly what it sounds like. It happens within the same organization. Think of a manager giving instructions to their employees on the floor. Then, on the flip side, we have external communication. This is when you're dealing with people entirely outside your organization. So that's negotiating with a supplier or pitching a marketing campaign to your customers. Knowing exactly who your audience is in these arenas completely dictates how you're going to talk to them.
Moving right along to Section 2, choosing the right method, vehicles for your message.
Look, as much as we might want to, we really can't just text everything. Choosing the right method or vehicle for your message depends on several really critical factors. First, how fast does the message need to get there? What is the cost involved in sending it? Do you absolutely need a permanent written record for legal or formal reasons? Is the information highly complex, requiring charts and visual aids to make sense of it? Is it super confidential? And finally, consider the receiver's position. You're probably going to communicate very differently with a remote junior employee than you would with, say, a senior external investor.
Let's actually compare a few of these methods side by side. Virtual meetings, like Zoom or Teams, are fantastic for complex discussions. They're fast and you get immediate feedback, though obviously we all know the absolute pain of someone talking for 5 minutes while they're stuck on mute. But on the downside, they can be a real headache to organize, and if you shift them to in-person meetings, those venue and food costs add up quickly. Then you have emails. Emails are quick, and they are absolutely perfect for keeping written records and attaching documents. But the catch? They can easily cause information overload or just get completely ignored in a messy inbox. Lastly, think about social media platforms like Instagram or Facebook. They are incredibly fast and basically ideal for marketing, but the feedback you get is quite limited, and honestly, those software subscriptions can get pretty expensive.
And all of this leads us to a major distinction in how our communication vehicles operate: one-way versus two-way communication. A poster on a break room wall or a formal letter mailed out to a client is typically one-way. You broadcast the message out into the world, but there's no real possibility for the receiver to respond. Two-way communication, on the other hand, allows for active back-and-forth discussion. And as you'll see in just a moment, that ability to actually get a response is the magic ingredient for effective business.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 3, the power of feedback, completing the loop.
Truly effective communication always follows a simple 4-step loop. Step 1, the message is sent. Check. Step 2, the message is received. Check. Step 3, the message is actually understood. But step 4, that's where the magic really happens. Action is taken and feedback is provided. Feedback is the ultimate proof that your message didn't just vanish into the void. It basically tells the sender, hey, I got it, I understand it, and the work is actively being done. Without this feedback loop, coordination and efficiency across different departments will just completely fall apart.
But here's a question for you.
If the loop is genuinely that simple, send, receive, understand feedback, why in the world does it go wrong so often? Why does communication actually fail?
Let's dive into Section 4, Common Communication Barriers, the Antagonists.
First up, things can go sideways right at the source, with the sender or the method itself. Maybe the sender is using super unclear language, or just burying the message in heavy technical jargon that a normal person simply won't grasp. Or maybe their tone is just awful and they really don't know how to explain themselves clearly. Then there are method barriers. Think about those dreaded technical glitches. A dropped Zoom call right in the middle of a pitch, or using a one-way method that entirely lacks a channel for the receiver to even ask a basic clarifying question.
But hey, let's be fair, it is not always the sender's fault. We have to look at receiver and feedback issues too. Sometimes the receiver is just unmotivated or totally inattentive. They simply aren't interested in understanding you at that particular moment. There can also be very real language and cultural differences that just muddy the waters. And finally, the feedback itself might be the barrier. The receiver heard you, sure, but they give a massively delayed response, or they just ghost you entirely, leaving the poor sender completely in the dark.
Now, why should we care about all these barriers? Because bad communication isn't just a minor annoyance at the office. It is a literal business killer. When messages distort, you end up with low employee motivation because people simply don't know what they are supposed to be doing. You get terrible customer service. You see a massive spike in production errors. And all of that, every single bit of it, leads to a huge drop in efficiency and heavily increased business costs.
All right, it's time to fix things. Section 5, Strategies to Overcome Barriers, Fixing the Flow.
Here are some practical, totally actionable solutions to fix the flow of information in your workplace. Number 1, drop the jargon. Please, just use simple language that a regular person can easily understand. Number 2, ensure the method actually matches the message. For example, if you have highly complex technical details to explain, do not just pin a basic notice on a staff corkboard and walk away. A message like that desperately needs a two-way discussion. Number 3, actively encourage and facilitate feedback. Actually make a point to ask your team to ask questions. And number 4, train your staff, both the senders and the receivers, in effective communication skills.
But you know, underneath all those technical fixes, the simple language, and carefully chosen methods, there is one absolute golden takeaway here. Successful communication requires trust between the sender and the receiver. It really is that simple. When there is mutual trust, people give each other the benefit of the doubt, they ask honest questions without fear, and true understanding becomes so much easier to achieve.
Which leaves us with this final, somewhat provocative thought for you to reflect on today. Take a really hard look at your own daily habits at work. Are your messages actually being understood by your team? Or are they just being sent? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking those questions, keep refining your methods, and I will see you next time.